In this video, I want to talk about how you cannot compare yourself to the average person. Now, what made me realize that I'm not an average person anymore is that the way I think, my mindset, and what I'm willing to sacrifice is far beyond what the average person is willing to do. I'm willing to sacrifice time out of my day. I'm willing to sacrifice certain things, certain foods in order to get the body that I want, in order to increase my income as much as possible. And overall, my routine, the way that I utilize my time, and overall what I do and how I'm able to put myself out there alone when it comes to social media and whatnot is a clear indicator on how I was able to realize that I'm just not like the average person. And if you compare yourself to the average person, you're going to realize that it's gonna drag you down more than actually lift you up. And why is that? It's because your standards is not the same as theirs. You have to realize that not everybody's standards is as high as yours. I'll give you guys an example. Before, when I was in high school, before I started going to the gym, before I started focusing on different parts of my life, I was striving to fit in. I bet like a lot of you guys, like when you guys were in high school, or if you guys are still in grade school, you guys have these moments, or most of you guys probably want to strive to fit in. Like you guys want to strive to be like the average person. So why? So that way you can have friends, so that way you can have somebody to play with at recess, or somebody to play with or partner up with when you're in gym class, just overall just to fit in. Because a lot of the times when your standards are not to the same level that everybody else's, it just makes it hard for you just to socialize with everybody else, which puts you off in the corner. And most of the time that's not where you want to be, especially when you want to fit in. But you have to also realize that if you want to strive for more, if you want more out of life than everybody else, you have to do things that not everybody else is willing to do. And by proxy, what happens? Your standards are way higher. What you're willing to sacrifice is way higher. Your routine is way more dialed in. Your fitness, your diet, the amount of time that you take to cook your food, overall your lifestyle is no longer like the average person. And that's good, because like I said before, if you want more out of life, you have to do more. Average is average for a reason. If you want more, you have to do more. And a lot of times when you compare yourself to the average person, you become like that. And what is the average person? Like, what is it? Like, what, you keep saying all this, but what is the average person? Well, in my perspective, I find the average person to peak in high school, where they had the most social groups, where they had the most fun. But over time, after high school, when they graduate, even after college, they have their fun, and all of a sudden everything else slowly declines. Like, they're lazy, not in shape, doesn't care about how they appear, how they present themselves to the world, makes a X amount of money, and is already satisfied. And that's how I view the average person. And if you do not want to be like that, then you cannot set your standards to that limit. You have to set your standards to above what the average person is. Another reason why you don't want to compare yourself to the average person is because when you're like the average person, nothing in your life is abundance. Whether it is money that's being scarce, whether it be scarce amount of women in your life, or if it's just like the opportunities in your life is scarce. And why? Because you're average. And because you're always used to setting your standards to the average level, you're getting these average opportunities that is not overall propelling you to where you want to be in the future. Another reason why you don't want to compare yourself to the average person is because as you're building a better life for yourself, a lot of the times the gratification is delayed. And if you notice, a lot of the times the average person's gratification is always instant, whether it be substance, whether it be like alcohol, a quick trip, or lots of vacations, a lot of time spending having fun and not enough working. And that is the standard for the average person. And if you want to build something even more than the average person, you have to get used to pushing your pleasures all the way further and further down the future. Let's say we put this in a gym context, right? Let's say you're skinny, right? And you want to get in good shape. You're not just gonna be like Houdini and poof, you have abs. The reality is that it's gonna take some time. So if you want to get in shape and you want it bad enough, you know deep down inside that you're gonna have to go into that gym every single day, still looking fat, as you're slowly making your way down to, the weight or the body that you really want to have. And it's the same thing for everything. It doesn't even need to be fitness. It can be a job where, you get a promotion. It could be like a business that you're trying to grow. You have to push, your satisfaction down more and more. Delay the amount of time it takes before you blow your money, splurge, buy an M4, buy whatever. And the point that I'm trying to prove is that that's one thing the average person cannot do at all, which is delayed gratification. And that is crucial, because without the skill of, pushing your satisfaction further in the future, you're not going to be able to build anything significant. And if you do, it won't be long term. Now, what nobody really talks about is that when you're trying to propel yourself from the average standards, when you're trying to build something, that sometimes can even be bigger than yourself, to be honest with you, you have to realize that you can't require support. You can't require, validation to start something that you truly want to start. Why? Because most of the time, the average person is not going to understand or fathom what you're dreaming, what you want to build. And by proxy, you're not going to have any support. You're not going to have anybody that's, understanding of, what you're doing or is validating everything that you're saying. I mean, they may be like, yeah, bye-bye, let's talk about something else. But that's about as far as you're going to get with it. So it has to be your job to, take that extra step to acquire the skill or to build something significant. So that way, you have something in the far future that's bigger than yourself, and you get to, actually then have your fun, do whatever you want, spend on whatever you want to spend on. And that's something that the average person cannot do, which is another reason why you don't want to compare yourself to them. You want to be better. If you want better, you have to be better. And yeah, that's all I have for you guys in this video. The biggest takeaway that I want you guys to take from this video is that you cannot compare yourself to the average person, especially if you want more out of life, whether it be you want to be in better shape than the average person, or you want to look better than the average person, or you want to make more money, or all of the above. You can't compare yourself to the average person, because you're gonna realize that it's gonna make you go lower rather than help you, reach your goals. And if you're into content like this, be sure to subscribe and have a wonderful day.